Right at it. Right at it. Oh, he's done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Good evening, everyone, or good morning, or whenever you guys are listening. This is the new episode of the Go Get That podcast. Jordan just told me the episode number, and I've already forgotten it. I think 58. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Sure.
Today we're recapping the Tour Championship pod. We're recapping the Tour Championship in this pod. Wow, I'm off my game. And then we are going to do a season recap next week. We decided to split into 2 episodes because there's a lot to talk about in the season, and there's little to talk about in the Tour Championship. But we thought we'd get this one out there because, you know, why not? And then we low break, President's Cup, and then on to the off season where we'll have some guests and some fun times. Maybe we can have an entire episode of just question the pods for that.
That
like
would
that
be
idea.
that would be something. I started writing them down today in my phone. So
Wow.
I have one for today.
I'm
And I have
nuclear
one
for
for
that.
next week. And hopefully I will remember to keep writing them down. Because they're, I don't know. They just come to me at random times. So hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. Question the pod today. Great stuff. Exciting
Here.
stuff.
Excited for the end. Also, weird news. Foreplay has kicked someone to the curb and replaced them
Yeah.
with another guy. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that, but I mean, it is what it is for me. I don't really watch that pod much. They're chill. They're cool.
Well,
I think adding someone who actually like knows golf and not just
This
Tiger
is
Woods
true.
was a
It's
good acquisition. They're a business at the same
That's-
time though. It's interesting to look at it from that perspective. Sorry to interrupt, Dan, but
What'd you
like
say?
they're like a business at the same time. So like I think Riggs called it a business move. Like they're competing with No Laying Up for viewers. So from that perspective, I think bringing in Dan Rappaport's
It's not
probably a
that
pretty good.
competitive.
Well, I mean, I think it's an industry, the podcasting industry.
Yeah.
They're
It
trying
is.
to be
It
top of
is.
the
And for
charts.
sure, I think you look at Knowing Up and you look at Foreplay and listen, as a small podcast, I'm calling myself small because obviously we have a very comfortable amount of views, but we're not one of the big dogs. I'm not gonna talk down too much on a certain top golf podcast, but I will say I think for me personally, if I want to listen to a golf podcast, I'm going to listen to people who are experienced in the field or are just super entertaining. I think that Subpar is probably my favorite one, just because I mean Colton Oast is the man. And then if you look for entertainment, in some aspects, I go to Foreplay. I don't go to 4 or 5 random dudes who know a lot about golf but don't really have any so that's just my opinion. That's where I come from. It's not just like personal.
Yeah.
That's why I'm more Foreplay over the other guys.
No, I think the other thing too that it was surprising. I didn't really expect it, but it makes a lot of sense in my opinion because
It does.
like Jordan, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? It's like now they have somebody that actually. I mean, I don't know, I listened to a little bit of their first episode with Dan Rappaport there, and
When did that come out?
Tuesday, so yesterday,
All right,
when
I'll
we're
watch it.
recording this, and he like corrected them a couple times about just like golf things.
That's fun.
They're like 30 minutes that I watched, and it's like, yeah, that's you kind of want it'll add more balance. I think he's still entertaining. He's 27, which is kind of crazy to be that successful at 27.
Who, Rap?
Yeah, especially in the media world.
Yeah, I
Being
mean,
being a writer for Golf Digest and all that stuff is crazy. So, and good for him too. I mean, now he gets to,
I mean,
he's done the
Say whatever he
professional
wants,
part,
pretty
and now
much.
he
I
can-
mean, we've
right, yeah.
talking
so-
we've talked about Rapport probably before and our opinions on him. I mean, he's a Tiger Woods fanboy, but like other than that, I don't really have any problems with him. I think he knows a lot about golf. He's written some really good articles that aren't Tiger Woods related. If you take Tiger Woods out of the equation, I think he's fine. I thought it was. I think this is a better situation for him personally because, again, I definitely think he was one of the more biased journalists out there, which I'm not hating on. I just think that if you're going to be one of those guys, you shouldn't call yourself a journalist, which he's not now, and that's fine. I think it will be good for him. I always look back to that video of Will Zalatoris missing the putt and him jumping up and down.
Oh
pretty funny.
man. No.
But
Yeah.
that was it was a tough look for him in that position.
Yeah.
But now he's with foreplay and he can do that all he wants.
Right.
Which is good for him. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll enjoy this. I think it will be good for him.
But
I've never been a huge fan of his voice. I don't know if I could like I mean that's a big part. Like I think Riggs has a good voice. I think Frankie has a good voice. I think Trent has a good voice. Lurch had a fine voice, but Lurch was just always kind of there. But I think I'll get past it. Again, I don't listen to their podcast very much. Very rarely. I love their Kisner episodes, but other than that, I just go to there when there's an entertaining clip or something. But yeah, I think it's good for him. No hate against him. Good for him. I bet it was a huge payday for him.
yeah.
So good for him. He's always been
Mm.
pretty kind to Tracker Twitter as well, which should be interesting to see how that plays out.
a win.
Maybe we could get. I'd love to see. He's really good friends with Tiger Woods Legion, so that'd be pretty cool if he got spot on the podcast. That'd be
But
really cool.
it
Because
wouldn't. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I feel like Barstool is maybe, isn't that like the ideal spot in sports media?
what?
Like being a part of Barstool,
Yes, absolutely.
isn't that like,
Barstool is it.
I feel like it doesn't have the prestige maybe ESPN or NBC or whoever does.
But the thing,
So that-
yeah, the
I feel
difference
like
is
that's the most fun. That sounds like the most interesting way to cover sports, right?
I would have to agree with you. I think that, like, I mean, yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think that, when Barstool doesn't really have to give any craps about what anyone thinks. I mean, Dave Portnoy, he's been very open in his years about his thoughts, and people love that about him. That's where they get a lot of their fans from. So yeah, I think it's a great spot to be. You don't really have to be as cautious as you are with ESPN. I mean, you see ESPN people like leaving all the time because of something they said, right? You don't really have that problem at Barstool. And it's just huge publicity. Like if you're with Barstool, I feel like even if I've never heard of them, they instantly have some credibility, right? Or at least makes you say, well, if they got hired by Barstool, they have to be somewhat entertaining to some audience, right? So yeah, I think it has to be the go-to spot. I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to,
It's kind of like the left bleacher is Rory McIlroy's go-to spot on 18 on Sunday when he's trying to lock down $18 million.
That was out of left field, Dan.
What a play! I think that was definitely a reach for a segue, but
I like the effort.
I mean, yeah, that was impressive, man. I mean, it was just really impressive. Obviously Jay Monahan's gonna love it, but in the end, it really it wasn't the best result, I don't think, for the Tour Championship. I think Scottie should have won. I mean, he deserved to win. He had the best season, but I mean, he did choke away a 6-shot lead, so there's that too.
I think I think there's an argument to be made though that Rory winning is the best because Rory is supposed to be
PGA
the
Tour.
best player on tour.
Yeah.
and he's like the
What's
face of
supposed
the
to
tour.
be is
Right. Well, no, I understand your point. Scottie was the best player this year, so he should be kind of the champion. But
Well-
also, like, it worked, and that playoff format worked because Rory won.
Rory
You had
did
a
go out
pretty
and win it.
you had a pretty good leaderboard on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's not like I hate to bring this up, but the 16-0 Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl, right?
I love
Because you're the best in the
personally.
regular season doesn't
Let's
mean
go
you're
Dolphins,
supposed to
baby.
win the ultimate. But yeah, so I think it's cool, and I think obviously Monahan is extremely happy, because that was one of the better case scenarios. If Cam Smith won, they'd have some problems. But he was really bad this week, actually. So, yeah, good week for the tour, I suppose, except for the few names that left.
Yeah, speaking of Cam Smith is now gone. Yeah, him winning the FedEx Cup would have been a doomsday scenario for the tour, but it's I mean, it's still going to be weird come the Players next season when the defending champion of the Players is just not there. Like, that's just going to be crazy weird. I mean, the flagship event of the tour and the guy who won it is now playing for the circus, the 54 tour, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I just tour championship Spieth. Started 8 back. He finished 10 back, I think. So I don't know. He played well on Sunday. First 3 rounds are pretty brutal. Did drop that. Bob put out the tweet on Saturday, spoke with Golf Digest after the round, saying he'll be grinding on the putting this offseason. That's pretty much what it comes down to. If Spieth putts average, a little above average next year and strikes it how he did this year, I think it's going to be a fun year for the podcast and a fun year for Spieth.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that any better. I'm sure he's recognized that that's the case. It's just weird. I mean, even on Sunday or kind of throughout the week, the little bits that we saw of him, like, it's impressive how many short putts he can miss, And I get that those guys miss them every now and again, but and I can't even think of like a super short putt that he missed this week, but it's just like 5-footers that aren't even close. And you're like, geez,
Yeah.
that's pretty bad. And
Yeah.
I thought he rolled in some longer ones this week. The putting was like okay, but
I didn't think it was that.
he really left a couple out there. So
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to quickly go back to the whole debate of who should have won. We said at the beginning of the playoffs that we felt like if Cam Smith or Scottie Scheffler didn't win, we thought it was not a correct result. I do think that other than those two, Rory was definitely number 3 that could have been.
Agreed.
Like if Sung Jae Im won, we would be having a completely
Yeah.
different conversation.
right.
There's
Or
no
Scott
doubt about
Stallings
that.
or whatever. Yeah.
And that's not to say that Sung Jae Im didn't go out and play well enough to win this week, but it just, I mean, did he win the shadow? I think he did.
I think Rory won both.
Oh, did Rory win both? All right. Well, anyways, yeah. So there's that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Speed thoughts, Bob.
Man. I need a break from watching him. I love the guy to death, clearly. But his game right now is just so frustrating to watch, like the way he plays. Literally has struck the ball so well this year. And thank God we got a win out of it, but it doesn't really feel like we should have. So we're here. We finished the season with a win. And given how disastrous the putting performance was, I think 1 win is a success given the putting. But it's tough to watch, as you said. There's nothing more frustrating than getting all the hard work done and then missing a 5-footer, like without even touching the hole. I mean, it just happens too much for him. I'm the guy behind the mic. I'm not the guy hitting the shots, and it's obviously easier said than done. But it's just really frustrating to watch as a fan. I'm sure Barstool would be saying this if Tiger lost the Masters because he couldn't hit a 2-foot putt. I mean, it's frustrating to watch. That's simple matter of fact. So I'm excited for the President's Cup. I'm excited to see how he builds on his putting in this 3-week stretch. But or 4-week stretch. But I think the ball striking is just really good. And I think it really sucks that we didn't get a better year out of it given how good it was. So yeah, those are my thoughts for now.
Yeah, I mean I kind of agree. I think not only do we need a break, I mean it does take a lot of time to track, as you guys would probably imagine. There's a lot of hours that go into it. I mean, for the 5-hour rounds that he's out there playing, we're doing the same on Twitter or Instagram. And he needs a break more importantly, because I mean it's pretty much every week the same damn thing. You go out there, you strike it pretty well, and you just don't make enough putts. I mean, I was actually shocked by this, but he was first out of the 29 guys at the Tour Championship in strokes gained approach this week. So again, I mean, it was another, solid ball striking week, and he was just pretty bad on the greens again. He just didn't make enough. And the disparity in the strokes gained when there's only 29 guys, like if you're not making putts, you're going to fall so quickly because there's less guys in the field to balance it out. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, what he looks like at the President's Cup. Maybe he can build off the Sunday at the Tour Championship. Who knows? Do you guys know when the picks are released?
Next week, I think.
Next
Okay.
week. Okay.
I'm gonna say they got to be pretty soon.
I was on the President's Cup website, and they said they were going to be released on August 29th, which was the Monday after the Tour Championship. And we're sitting here on Wednesday night, and they're still not out, which is kind of unfortunate. Jordan will be on the team. That's not really in doubt. Be interesting to see who he's playing with. I mean, JT is definitely a guarantee, but I wonder if he'll play with anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna split him up. We thought that we would at the Ryder Cup, and they never did. So
You saw Spieth play with Koepka.
oh, true.
Go well.
Which was super weird. Made no sense to me at all. But
He's just resting, guys. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I
it
think
was
Brooks
was
outplayed
balling.
Koepka. I mean, Brooks
Koepka
outplayed.
carried.
Yeah.
yes.
That was
I'm-
brutal.
I'm expecting good things at the President's Cup from Spieth and Team USA in general. The CJ Cup and the Hero, my expectations are pretty low. Especially the Hero. I mean, obviously last year was putrid, but I don't know if he'll play anywhere else in between there because that's all he did last fall. And I think he felt like he still got to where he wanted to be kind of going into the playoffs. In terms of like FedEx Cup points and things like that. So my guess is it's just the CJ Cup is the only like FedEx Cup tour event in the fall, and then obviously he'll have 20 events.
He'll play the Hero and
Yeah, but not like for FedEx Cup
Yeah.
points though. Just like OWGR, and I mean Houston wouldn't shock me, but I don't think he really wants to play that much.
I don't either.
So I think, and then we'll go the 2 weeks at the Century and Sony for sure. I bet this time, but yeah, it's kind of the off season, kind of the see how the game trends, but it's tough. And I think too, though, one thing I kind of realized throughout the playoffs, and this might be a little bit more of like a season review type thing, but his ability to kind of get back to doing things well, even after a bad week, I think is encouraging. Like Memphis was terrible. BMW was a lot better, a lot quicker. And then Tour Championship was, I mean, it was first in approach, right? So clearly he can he's not, when he looks bad, he's not as far away as it may seem. And for a while in 1920, late 18, he was really far away. So I guess that's something to be like, all right, he's
Yeah.
kind of at a
Yeah.
his floor for a week is pretty low, but his floor for a month is it's like a top 30 player at worst. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's pretty solid.
yeah, I'd agree. So I have just a couple things that came to mind. One being like usually we sit here and we'll say, "Oh, he's got to play. Oh, he's got to play. Oh, he's got to get out there and work on stuff." Like I feel the opposite right now. Like if he only ends up playing twice in the fall, playing the Hero and the CJ Cup, like I'd be okay with
I'm
that.
all for that.
Like, I mean, I just go to the putting green and work for hours every day. Like it's not stuff he needs to get on the course and work on.
Yeah.
And then just like number two, like the rounds this season, and like we'll talk about this more in the season review. They're just so deflating because he's such a streaky player, especially with the putter. And he kind of alluded to this in like his and probably a couple of like the post round interviews and the pre-tournament press conferences. Like when he doesn't make putts early, I mean, I just think he gets mentally like drained. Like if he makes one, he gets really mentally into it. But when he doesn't, he misses a couple early. Like Tour Championship, I think he missed. Was it a six? He had a nice birdie putt on one, and then a short one on two to save par. He's +1 through two, and he could have easily been one under just by making both putts, making birdie par instead he's par bogey. Like he gets just so mentally, I think, detached, and it can bring in some of the bad swings as well. I think anyone if you're a golfer, you can kind of testify to this. Like when you're not making anything on the greens, you'll mentally check out for a swing and you'll do what he did on 8 and hook it in the water.
Well, I've been actually like, I've always been a really good putter. Like that's always been like my claim to fame. I've always been the kid who hit it really short, wedged it to 20 feet, and then made the par putt every time, which is the most annoying person to play golf against. But I've been having my struggles, and every time I have a round when I'm struggling putting, if I don't make that first 10-footer, I immediately think like, here we go again. And I think that's kind of where he's at.
Yeah.
I think making putts early is really important because I think that's exactly where he's at. I also think that today I actually thought I found something in my putting stroke. And I think that if Spieth finds that, I think that one thing clicking could be huge. Because I mean, I'm sure you guys play golf. Like you guys know one thing clicking in your swing, your putting stroke. I mean, it's game changing. All it takes is one thing. So I guess we're just kind of playing the waiting game until he finds that one thing that clicks. Because we know that he's not gonna settle for being like a Keegan Bradley type player who just wins once a year because he finds the putter once a year. Like I don't think he's settling for that. So, I think making putts early in rounds is like crucial for him right now. I think seeing that first 10-footer go is huge. Yeah, I agree.
Right. And historically too, he's been a good bounce back player, both like within rounds, but also kind of within seasons. Especially with the putting. Like it's kind of gone up and down and up and down these past 4 or 5 years. Like in 19, he was fantastic. 2020, not as good. Last year, 30th. This year, obviously terrible. So hopefully next year it kind of bounces back. But he keep some of that tee to green work. I think he was 18th tee to green for the year for all the tour events. Doesn't include some of the majors, so it's probably a little bit worse because that was the major showing. We'll get into this more, but he hit the ball, like you said, like a top 20 player, and he putted like a bottom 20 player, basically.
And that was kind of the story.
And that's kind of how you summarize it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Do we have any other tour championship thoughts? Because I know we're starting to drift into the.
It summed up the season. I mean, just kind of.
I agree.
Saying,
That's what I was gonna
struck
say.
it well and didn't make much. I mean, he wasn't going to win regardless, but like, I was thinking about this right after Rory won. Rory started the week only 2 shots better than Spieth. So, I mean, Spieth would have needed to play and Rory just putted so well. I mean, we'll get into this. One last thing, Bob, and then I'll stop rambling. But like we'll get into this.
No,
In
go ahead, go ahead.
I know, but this is important because I know we'll discuss this a lot in the next podcast. Rory putted. This was, I think, the best putting year of his career. JT putted great this year. Both of them recently added putting coaches. Rory's got Brad Faxon, and I think JT's got Phil Kenyon, I want to say. And both of them had just, for them, pretty good putting years. JT kind of, towards the end of the year, kind of to sputter a little bit, but he was started really strong through the PGA Championship. Both had pretty dang good putting years. Putted great this year. Jordan is stuck with Cam, and it's nothing against Cam. It's not a Cam thing at all.
We're so past the immature days of Cam being the problem.
No, Cam is far from the problem, but even these world class players will have multiple coaches for different facets.
Yeah, I would love to see Brad Faxon, or someone like him of that degree who just knows the fundamentals. But I think you go back to Jordan, and Jordan's more of the mindset that, listen, I'm a very feel putter, and I don't want to get technical, and I think that that's kind of scaring him away from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he figured it out from 18 to 19 as well. So, I mean, he can definitely figure it out on his own. It's a little nugget to throw out there.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I will say I do like the finish. The finishes to, let's see, did he finish Sunday at the BMW with 5 birdies in the last 7? I think that's right.
Yeah.
And then the finish Sunday at the Tour Championship, just strong finishes to like cap off the week. Which is always obviously a lot more enjoyable than kind of bogeying your way in.
5 was fun.
Yeah, so hopefully there's more of those in the future. It's too bad Eastlake was really kind of soft this week.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see it play
really sucks.
a little bit more difficult. Because I think it's a cool challenge. But it certainly got the leaderboard that the tour was hoping for. So I'm sure they're happy about that. Yeah.
You know what time it is?
It's a question of the pod time.
It's a question of the pod time.
Wow. Okay. So I do have to pull it up. Because it is, as I mentioned earlier in my notes. So I've got 2 of them. I'm not sure which one. I think I'll save the other one for next time, but
yeah, one of them. We'll give them one.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do both of them, but one of them came to me first, and then this other one's a little bit more like, I want to say creative or original, but it's less. Okay, so this first one is, what's the best sound in sports? Like, what makes
I love the randomness.
What is the best sound? And I was thinking, like, a home run sound, or ball dropping in the cup, or John McGinnis on PGA Tour Live.
Rafael Nadal's moans.
I think for me, and maybe it's a little bit of personal, like, because I'm attaching emotions or feelings to it. I think it's swishing a ball through a net for basketball, to me, I think is the best sound.
I'm gonna go with 2, and I don't quite know which one it is. One of them is a ball dropping in the hole. The other one is a puck hitting like the crossbar.
Oh.
That's such a amazing sound.
That is a very nice sound.
When you're in the arena too, and you can't even see where the puck is, but you just hear it. That hit the iron. Like, that's so electric.
Yeah.
It's tough to narrow down.
I am a big fan of the sirens after hockey goals too.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty fire.
That's a man-made sound though, so.
No, I know, but it's like, I feel like they get me hype.
You have to go with a natural sound.
I think that's fair. Natural sound.
Geez, that makes it tougher. As long as it's not Spieth, there's nothing like a ball splashing into the water.
That is a great sound.
That is a good sound,
is
especially when
great.
you get the NBC mics on it.
Exactly. Like you're on the edge of 17
Well,
at
see,
Sawgrass.
the Fox mics in the hole were amazing.
Liv brought that back too. Like I don't know why.
One of Liv's very few W's,
Yeah.
unfortunately. That's a great question, Dan.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed that one, Dan. I don't really know how you got that. That's
I'm excited to
impressive.
see.
Well, I've definitely seen it before.
Dan, I think you should tweet that out on the Go Get That account, and we should see what other people think.
Oh, of course.
I would
That'll
love
be-
to see what other people think about that.
I agree.
Yeah. But this has to be one of our shortest podcasts in a while. But
The next
We'll
one's
be
gonna be
back.
long though. So
unfortunately, a lot of speed to discuss.
a lot of speed.
So yeah.
But
Yeah.
Dan, sign us off.
Okay. I broke 80 today, so that's it.
You
See ya.
did.
I did.
Congrats.
Thank you.
You broke 80 today?
I did.
Whoa. We needed a
78.
way bigger moment for that.
Well, I was just trying to slip it in there for the
Congratulations,
people that
man. What'd
care.
you shoot?
Kind of care. 78.
Wow.
I got it by 2, and I made 2 double bogeys.
Whoa.
about
How
that?
many birds?
2. I was
Wow,
scrapping.
that's impressive. That is quite.
I
you
only
found
hit,
that dog in you.
I only hit 5 greens.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
assume the
another-
fist pumps were flying.
Funny
Oh,
golf story for me.
There's a
before we leave.
massive 12-footer on 17 for par, and
Oh, dude, when I shot
full
69,
woods.
when I shot 69 against Schlehuber, I was 2 under through 16 and hit a 25-footer for bogey on the 17th hole. And it was the biggest fist pump, I think, of my life.
Against Ryan too.
I was so hyped because you can't be 2 under and then make double. Like, that's awful.
That would hurt.
But yeah. Funny story for me over the weekend. Broke my driver stretching, snapped it right in half. You know when you stretch it over your neck, right in half.
Yeah.
It just gave. Brutal waste of $350. So
That's tough.
Jeez.
But congratulations,
Tough.
Dan.
Thank you.
yes, I didn't mean to steal the moment. Dan,
No.
unbelievable. A big congratulations tweet is in order.
Feels
So,
good.
Yes.
I needed to get it off my chest before
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
my shoulders. I needed to get it. I needed to be done.
Yeah.
'Cause it was coming, but
Yeah. I feel that.
it's
Bob,
now here.
I think we sign off with a clap for Mr. Dan.
I agree.
Congratulations, Dan. Take care.
Hi, everyone.